that's when Subaru really turned and became the brand that it is now. Didn't go to college assuming I was going to be in the car business by any means. If we were to do that, it would mean that we're lying to them. If you're going to have a business in the community, your job is to support that community. We actually got in trouble with Subaru last year because too much of our money went to the local nonprofits.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Lake City Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Nilsson. Now, this week's guest is Jeff Miller. Now, Jeff is the fourth generation owner of Mark Miller Subaru. Now, we talk a lot about the interesting dynamics of Salt Lake City and car dealerships, how a lot of them have maintained these family ownerships for generations, and a lot of the names that you tend to see on a lot of the different dealerships throughout the valley. But we also talk about how Mark Miller gives back to so much of the community that has supported it through the years, especially right now with the Subaru Share the Love event, where with a new car purchase can have up to $500 donated to a local community, either Girls on the Run Utah or USARA. But great guy, great conversationalist, someone who loves the community and does so much for it, but definitely one you all are going to enjoy. So let's hop into it. When the Olympics came in 2002, there was this property outside of Snow Basin that was dedicated to...
That's the military.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how they got the land out there. Yeah, it's crazy.
So, sometimes, like, I have this fault in myself where... And it's like it's like my own unique flavor of hating myself, where if I know something, I assume everybody knows something. Yeah. And so lately I've been trying to do better without having contact. Yeah, that's literally it until I like start talking with like how, I mean, especially like as I talk
you talk to a lot of people too.
Yeah. And like I'll talk to people who like I just meet. I'll be like, oh, well, did you know this? Did you know that? They're like, how do you know so much random shit about Salt Lake? I'm like, well, like there's this thing called a podcast that people do in their mid-30s when you're a white male. And the next thing you know, you just collect a bunch of information. And then sometimes it's worth something and sometimes it's not. Like there's another local podcast called This Is a Place. And it's essentially just like these two guys that talk about, I mean, random, as you can imagine, random places around Salt Lake. And so they had me on and just kind of talked to me about my journey. And I guess one of them works at a company and their executive team came out and he was giving me a tour of like Salt Lake. And the guy's like, how do you know all of this? Like, what is this Gilgal Gardens? And why is Joseph Smith on a Sphinx? And like all of these random things. He's like, you just start a podcast and next thing you know, you just kind of have a bunch of random information that comes together.
I like it.
Cool. Well, Jeff, I'm excited because because I mean, if you're from Salt Lake, I mean, Subarus are Subarus, first and foremost. And then you kind of know the major dealerships in general. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until about last year. Yes, because it was my sister's boyfriend's birthday and we were at Proper. Okay. And so he, oh my gosh, what was the old name? Now I can't remember the new name. David Garbett. Yeah. And so we were there. He's like, oh, you got to get the Suba Blue. Yeah. And I was like, tell me more. And he's like, well, fundraising, Mark Miller Subaru, partnered with Proper.
The only car dealership out there in the world with its own beer.
Yeah. Talk about diversification.
Yeah, right?
I mean, that's what a fourth generation car dealership owner.
That's how we figure it out.
Yeah. Trial and error, and now, as we talked about, now there's coffee beans in the mix. We got Thirst Soda coming into play. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of people that partner because, I mean, I do want to get into it, maybe not right off the bat, but Salt Lake is a very unique place with car dealerships. And I don't know, and I'm curious to get your take on it because I don't know if that's a thing everywhere. And I just haven't gotten to know like all the different levers of the economy or if it's such like a unique Salt Lake thing. Because I know like, I mean, the Millers, like they've expanded into so many different things, but it like started here.
Yeah,
you know?
It's really interesting with the way it is unique to Salt Lake. Okay. So the Gar from the Miller thing is very unique to Salt Lake. So before the Miller sold, when it was just Gar and Miller were two of the top 10 dealership groups in the country based out of Salt Lake City.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Because that was my hypothesis.
Yeah,
is this like, that
is absolutely insane to think about somewhere as small as Salt Lake. Salt Lake City. Yeah, I see it. So I threw that in for you. Would have the two of the top 10 dealer groups in the country. Yeah. Like that's insane to even fathom. And then there's just a lot of longtime family dealerships in Salt Lake. There's a lot of family groups that have just never sold and there are not very many publics. Yeah. Like Asbury coming in and buying Larry Miller was the first time a public really came in. So a publicly traded company came in and bought into Utah.
Because even in my head right now, I'm trying to think of any public.
Yeah, there's no Lithias, there's no AutoNation. None of that has ever hit Utah.
Yeah, because there's a couple of like the used people, like the what's the one in South, like right by IKEA?
There's like Carvana and CarMax and those guys are the big, but none of the new car franchises. And the biggest reason for that is because how strong the families were. Yeah. Right? Is that if a dealership ever went up for sale in Utah, it's not getting past Ken Garff or one of the other big groups, Young Auto or one of the other ones. They're going to buy it before it ever hits a public.
Yeah, I mean that's
that's what was so surprising when Asbury came in and bought all Larry Miller.
But that's also like a thing with Utah in general is like, I mean, for example, if someone's like, hey, I think I'm going to sell my house, it's usually talked about in the ward, in the neighborhood for a good month before it ever goes on the market. In the same way, I mean, you catch a drift of, hey, I think so-and-so's trying to sell a dealership. It's like, well, send them an email.
And that's without question the way it's been here for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
So that's why it became such a closed environment to publics. And the Asbury thing was a big hit in Utah. There was a big change in the car world for a public to finally be in the market.
See, and this is where I like.
And they never changed the name, so no one really realizes it's Asbury yet.
Yeah, it's like
there's still Larry Miller on the name, which I can't imagine that myself personally. But you just selling, that's your family name, right?
I don't disagree.
And I assume at some point it'll go away, but I don't know. It is what it is.
You know, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, it's one of those ones where like, I want to see that contract. I want to see
there's value in it though, without question. There's so much value in the Larry Miller name. I don't blame Asbury for wanting to keep it.
Oh, I mean, it's one of the like. I'm trying to think of more household names that are local than Larry H. Miller.
Mark Miller.
There we go. That's the one. and it's a not euphemism.
Which has no relation to Larry Miller at all.
Because that's what I was going to ask. I was curious, but I didn't think it did.
Yeah, there's zero relation. So our family, we started in the car business 20s. So we're fourth generation. So my great uncle.
How did he start? Like, what was his?
My great uncle's? I mean, if you really want to go back, you could probably go past fourth generation. And we were like horses and buggies in Idaho in the late.
It's like you moving into beer.
Yeah, Ed Carlson. I have a photo of Ed Carlson carriages in Idaho from the 1800s. So
really?
You really could go back that far.
Oh my God.
So really you could go farther if you really wanted to stretch it. We should go to 4 because that's the easiest to talk about.
We got to talk to your marketing guy and get that in there.
Got to get that to the 5th and start doing horses and buggies.
Partner with like Family Search.
Exactly. So, but it was my great uncle. So Fred Carlson was his name. And he moved it from Idaho as a Ford. He had the Ford dealership in Idaho. He moved to Salt Lake to take over the Ford distributorship for the state of Utah. So distributorship is the guys over the dealers.
Yes.
So that hands out the franchises to each of the stores. At this point, there's only 4 distributorships left in the entire United States.
Classic.
For any brand. So 2 of them are Subaru and I think 2 of them are Toyota. And other than that, they've all bought up all their distributorships and they're all sold by their manufacturers.
That makes sense.
Right. And so he was my great uncle. So his brother, Harry, would be my great grandpa. And they were partners in the business. And then I like this quick on it. But then my grandpa was the son-in-law. So he was the son-in-law.
Son-in-law sneaking in.
Son-in-law story. And he had married the boss's daughter and got one of the franchises. So he got the Pontiac franchise, which is what became Mark Miller Pontiac, became Larry. It was Laurie Miller, which is crazy.
That's insane.
My grandpa's name was Laurie.
What was his middle name? Do you know?
Laurie was actually his middle name.
Oh, okay.
His name was Glenn.
I was just curious, was it be like an
it was Glenn Laurie Miller. So the funny thing is that's why there's an H.
That makes
sense. When Larry Miller came to town in 1979, my dad had taken over at that point, was the owner of the store, and they were. Larry Miller is where it is currently. So 50th South and State, and we're on 35th and State. And one was called Laurie Miller Toyota. One was called Larry Miller Pontiac. Or it was Laurie Miller Pontiac and Larry Miller Toyota. And they sued him and said, you can't call yourself that. It's too close. You're getting phone calls. We're getting mail. So the settlement for it before he went to court was he had an H.
And
in the state of Utah, is the only place that Larry Miller stores have an H. If you go to any store in any other state, there's no H.
Insane.
Isn't that crazy?
That actually is.
And 6 months later, my dad changed the name to Mark Miller.
Yeah.
And actually, another piece of good trivia, he was changed to Mark Miller on the day I was born.
That's important.
The grand opening party for Mark Miller Pontiac was my birthday.
Where do you fall in birth order?
So I'm the youngest.
So you've been the most liked, obviously.
No, generally.
So how the oldest sibling gets born, like, we're changing it.
Hit or miss.
It depends on the season, age, general temperament.
Yeah, so that's how we got in. Then we ended up we picked up Subaru in 1971.
Which honestly, like, that's a lot of foresight, you know? Like, imagine being like, I think there's going to be some Subaru equity in Utah in the future.
So that was random. So my dad would have been 21 at the time. And he was like sales manager and office manager or something like that, where he was down. His grandpa calls my grandpa, his dad calls him his office and says, we have a chance to pick up another franchise. They were just Pontiac at the time. And he's like, it can be Subaru or Honda. Those are the two options they had. This is 1971. No one had any idea what those were. They were just names.
They're like, why would we abandon Pontiac for these things?
We weren't abandoning it. You were going to add it. It was an add-on. So it was an add-on. So they literally pulled a coin out of the desk and flipped it. That's how we ended up being Subaru together. There's no joke on that. Like, that's a verified story.
Amazing.
And so we became a Subaru dealer off that. And we always joke. I actually joked at our grand opening last week with the president of Subaru there. That first 25 years of that coin flip was horrible. It was a bad coin flip because Honda took off and Subaru was tough. And then about 1996, what came out for Subaru was Subaru Outback.
Yeah.
So that's when Subaru really turned and became the brand that it is now. And in the last 15 years, it's just gone through the roof. And the beauty of Subaru is just it connects to who we are a lot better than any other brand would. It's just how we run our business, community-based,
totally
nonprofits. More than just trying to make money. Subaru's that brand. And so it fits so great for us and just a great partnership.
I just love that we're 10 minutes into this and my jaw's already down and my mind's been blown by 3 times.
Flip the coin. We actually, on our 50th anniversary, we gave away coins.
You hit a quarter?
Yeah, it was a coin. It has little commemorative coins for the flip.
I just want to, like, as someone who, like, has to source things and try to find, like, I mean, like, I got to have a merch guy. I gotta have this. Like, you got to go find a coin guy, you know?
It's amazing what you can find.
Insane. But I guess, like, the history is fascinating because, again, like, to have, I mean, down to a coin flip of, hey, we're going to do this dealership competitive. I mean, in hindsight, both would have done great. One would have done better generally. Subaru done even better locally.
Yes.
But I'm curious of, like, your story in all this because obviously you get born, the name gets changed. It's like this prophecy being written that you're going to take the helm at some point. But what was it like? Were you pretty active at the dealership?
I worked in the store as a kid. Just, I mean, little stuff, washing cars, worked in parts. I used to joke that you'd put you in parts to go dust part shelves. So I did that as a kid.
Mark.
And it goes back. My dad would tell stories back to when we were really little, like 5, 6, 7 years old. And he'd pay us, I think it was like a nickel a car to lock cars on the lot.
Yeah.
Because what they used to do on car lots is every morning you would go out to, this is before automatic keys, right? So they'd bring a keyboard out and they'd go out to the entire lot and unlock every car on the lot. So that the customers could walk and get in. Now we don't unlock the cars until a customer actually wants to get in. It's just a different world now. But what would happen is at the end of a shift, when it's closing time, 6, 7 o'clock, all of a sudden all the cars have to get locked again. So everyone has to go door by door and lock every car. So we get paid a nickel a car to go lock doors. That was my first job at the store.
Interesting.
But I didn't go to college assuming I was going to be in the car business by any means. I mean, I went to USC. For a business degree. I wanted to be in some sort of business. I didn't know what.
At that point?
I don't know. Just want to see what I liked and see what I was interested in. And met a lot of cool people at USC. Ended up working in some healthcare stuff when I first graduated.
Pendulum swing the complete
exactly
direction.
Doing healthcare staffing stuff.
Oh.
And then that was horrible. And then worked for a couple car dealerships down in LA, which there's a very big difference between a car dealership in Los Angeles, California, and a car dealership in Salt Lake City, Utah.
What's the TLDR of that?
It is a lot shadier. Yeah, I mean, I think I was working for a Porsche Audi store at one point, and I think like 2/3 of the stores were under investigation for fraud at the time.
Why'd that guy just hand him an envelope of cash? Don't ask questions.
Oh, I didn't know. Honestly, right a couple of days before I quit, it was I literally watched a guy walk into the general manager's office with a briefcase, shut the door for a half hour, leave. And that was like a regular thing. It's like, yeah, they're definitely laundering money. So got out of that pretty quick.
So was that, like, did your dad know? He's like, why are you going to work at another dealership? You can come work at our dealership.
No, I wasn't ready to move back to Salt Lake yet.
Fair.
So that was a big part of it. And then my dad had an opportunity to pick up another store back in about 2003.
Okay.
And so at that point, he asked me if I'd come back and help him with it. And so at that point, I moved back, and the store didn't end up working, like getting the new store. So we didn't end up getting it, but I was back at that point, so I started working for the family, and that was October of 2003. So 22 years now, yeah. So the nice thing, one thing my dad did was smart is that I started at the bottom. He wasn't, even though I had a degree from USC, business degree, graduated with honors. You're starting as a salesman.
Yeah.
So I was a salesman, worked myself up, special finance, became a finance manager, used car manager to new car manager. And while I was doing that, I got my MBA at the U. So I got my master's at the U in business. And then in 2009, we got very lucky to be able to purchase the Southtown Subaru store.
Got it.
Larry Miller's first store Larry Miller ever sold, actually. and they sold it to us, and we bought their Subaru store in 2009. And my dad said, if we're going to do this, then you're going to run it. I said, okay. So 29 years old, I took over general manager of the Subaru store in Southtown and haven't looked back.
Dang.
So I've run both stores since took over Midtown as well in 2011. And I've been running both stores ever till last December, when I finally hired a general manager to take over both stores and allow me to focus on more big picture stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, 'cause I love those stories of like family business, for example, because I've seen it go both ways. I've seen ones where it's like, all right, well, you're going to take it over some days. We're just going to make you the VP of some title, and you're just going to come and
very,
follow me
very
around.
common in the car business.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could name a lot of names. Matt, I'm not going to name a lot of names. Actually, fuck it. Let's name some. Just kidding.
I don't want to get in trouble. Let's do it.
Well, this is me saying.
As you could say, if you think Small Lake City, try Small Lake Car Dealership City. Salt Lake,
Well,
it's a small world in the car world. Everybody knows everybody.
Well, it's like that's been a fun thing about the podcast and just like my own general like ADHD rabbit holes is like I'll go down a rabbit hole, be like, oh, this is a lot small. Like the beer brewing community and breweries, so small. Pretty much all of them. I mean, like Kevin Templin used to work at Red Rock, who worked with Isaac Winter, who then went over to High West, and you just kind of find all these little things, or even going into the art community and talking to Micah Christensen, who is like the middle of the wheel of the spoke of that, because he's like the biggest dealer of everything, but then also wrote the anthology of all the artists in Utah.
Yep.
And so everybody knows him. He knows everybody.
Then you go the nonprofit world. Pretty much everybody just moves around to different nonprofits between the 50 main
around, and everybody just kind of passes money to each other.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. Which is fun. Like, I like it. It's fun to see how small the city is, but still, like, there's so much going on. And also to the point of, like, Southern California car dealerships, like, everything here in so many of, like, the different, call them industries, verticals, what have you, like, everything's a lot more collaborative. Everyone is a lot more understanding than a lot of other places. And so it's been fun to see how that's played out. And I'd assume at least has some sort of...
Yeah, it's a nice thing in the car. Generally, we don't really... Southern Utah and Northern Utah are considered kind of different places in the Utah car world. So it's pretty much Northern Utah car stores and the St. George stores, right? And so generally, most manufacturers have 5 or 6 stores in Northern Utah, kind of spread throughout the valley. So everybody knows everybody. We talk a lot. Like, I'm working really hard trying to get us to work together better.
Yeah.
Rather than like the Toyota guys and the Honda guys, they do a really good job of working together, right? Yeah, like your Utah Toyota dealers, your Utah Honda dealers. We've never really had that in the Subaru world.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get better at doing that and kind of competing against the Toyotas and the Hondas of the world, not each other.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Like, we want if someone comes to buy an Outback, we should be talking about why they should buy an Outback over a Jeep versus why they should buy it from us instead of the other Subaru guy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think there's something that I really like, because let's go back to a college paper I wrote when I was doing a whole SWOT analysis on Tesla.
Yeah.
And so part of, I'll get into the specific point, not walk you bullet by bullet of the SWOT analysis, but like one of them was, car distribution, where there's so many laws, mostly at a state level, of saying cars have to be sold at a dealership level, can't be sold directly from a manufacturer. And Tesla tried to turn that on the head. Worked good in some places, worked better at other places. Especially when, again, like, you can go down to another dealership, he's like, you offer me 100 less than you. Why would I? But one thing I really appreciate about Mark Miller is it's standard pricing. Like, we're going to give you the best deal that we can, not based on who can negotiate the best or who can go talk to someone else the best.
100%.
And talk me through that decision of moving it to that way, because I imagine there's a lot of financial ramifications, both positive and negative.
For sure. So we did that in 2014. So we're almost 12 years into this thing now. And the logic behind it, I'd wanted to do it for years. And finally, I had a good dealer friend of mine from Washington, a guy named Dave Jachter, kind of came back to look at some software or something like that, and met him there and ended up talking to my office about one price car selling, about this idea of why you do it. And the basic logic behind it is, in most car dealerships you go to, the people that treat you the worst get the best car deal.
Yes.
That's horrible. Like, that's a horrible business model. Like, you're encouraging people to beat you up and fight and go back and forth and create a thing because that's how they're going to get the best price. And that makes zero sense to me. And the new guys coming in, you're talking about business model for Tesla, the Rivians, the Carvanas, they figured that out. That's what they figured out, that they know that people don't want to negotiate. Like, there's pretty good studies out there that says it's only about 15 to 20% of the U.S. population actually wants to negotiate for a car.
And I would love to study that population, because whenever someone's like, I love negotiating, like, I don't know.
I know. I usually I have like my new employee orientation. It's one of the questions I ask every time I new employee orientation. We build new employees. I say, raise your hands if you like to negotiate. And without fail, it's always 1 out of 5. It's like 1 out of 5, 2 out of 6. That's always in that range. And it's because we don't teach our kids to negotiate. And so what happens is they go into a car dealership and we force them to.
Yeah. They're
not negotiating with car dealers because they want to. They're negotiating because they know if they don't, they're not going to get a good deal.
Yeah. And there's a financial incentive attached to it.
So what we're doing is we're saying we're going to give the best price right up front on every car. Are you going to get, and the idea of it is, are you going to get the absolute best price every time if you wanted to spend 3 hours fighting? And they're like, no, probably not. But it doesn't matter because you're going to have a great experience. And we can sell a car in a half hour. Good luck doing that anywhere else.
Yeah.
No one else is selling a car in a half hour to an hour.
3 weeks, 5.
Yeah, it's 3 hours, 4 hours. Even if you know what you want, it's 4 hours. Because, I mean, the best part about it is when the first time someone really gets to experience what one price and what we call promise price is what we call it at our stores. And they sit down, they go find their car. It's pretty standard. Like, we show them the car. We tell them exactly how we're doing business right when they walk in the door, so there's no surprises. They come down, it's a sit down to negotiate, right? Like, it's the car dealership thing. And they sit down and the salesperson puts the information in the computer, the car they want, shows them their payment, says, which one would you like? And the customer, the first time the customer sees that, they're just baffled by it. They're like,
it's like when you pull into the parking lot to
totally,
get cars, that's part of the experience.
Totally, they're sitting there like, wait a minute, you're not going to go to your manager and go back and forth to the desk and bring the thing? Salesperson, why would I? The price is there. That's the price you're paying. So all I have to do is put the car in and show you what the payments are, and you get to pick what payments you want. Yeah. And it just baffles people's minds, and a lot of them get confused. And then generally, a lot of people still try and ask. It shows they're testing us. They're testing to see if we're really not going to negotiate, and we don't. And the idea of it is that if we were to do that, it would mean that we're lying to them, right? If we tell someone we're not going to negotiate, then they come in and we negotiate, then where's our integrity in that? Yeah. We're lying to the customer. And so the idea is we're going to treat the old grandma that's what any other store would call her a lay down, or all these horrible car terms that are out there. We're going to treat her the exact same as someone who wants to come in and beat us up. And do we lose customers for it? Sure. But the idea is, I mean, basic business, basic marketing is if your target market's everybody, your target market's nobody.
Yes.
Right? And that's what most car dealerships are. If you ask most car dealerships who your target market, they'll say, everybody could buy a car from me.
Yeah. When's the best time to buy a car?
No.
Now.
First of all, no, everyone can't.
Yeah.
And one thing we found when we initially did it was it pushed a lot of our complaining customers away. Ooh. So like the customers that made our service managers and our service departments' lives very difficult, the difficult customers, we had a lot less of them after we did this.
I imagine repeat customers generally back too.
Yeah, and the repeat customer is the easiest thing in the world. Generally, especially a lease customer that comes back now, just walks back in and says, "Give me another one."
Yeah. Tell me the price.
It just says, "I'm going to do another Outback. I'll test drive when I get in. Just have it all written up. I'll show up at 4:00." You know, all right, 45 minutes. They're back out the door and see you in 3 years. Yeah. Right. And so then the idea of us is trying to figure out how we take what we've done with one price and now take it to the next level, and how we can meet people where they are, how some of these Carvanas and CarMaxes are doing, how we can make it the most convenient process for what the customer wants, not how we want to do business.
Yeah.
Because most car dealerships look at it and say, I'm going to make the customer come to me and do it how I want to do it. We're trying to look at it and say, how can I make it what the customer wants? If the customer wants to do it all online, like they're buying a Tesla, we should have that process. We should have that available to them. It's not going to be a lot of our customers, but what if it's 10%? Okay, we'll do it all online, deliver it to their house, and everything's great. If your customer doesn't want to come to our service department, we're working right now on a new pilot that's going to launch in January for mobile service. We're going to go start doing Subaru service to people's driveways.
Heck yeah. Pit crew shows up.
We bought 2 Foresters. We shipped them down to California to get upfitted for it, and they're ready to go.
I love that.
And so we're going to start doing that especially for Park City.
Yeah.
Because Park City, it's tough for people in Park City to make it all the way down the canyon.
Oh, yeah.
So if we could have a car up there that just runs loops in Park City all day long, it'll knock out a lot of people's work.
Well, that's like half of my friend Warner Traber's business model with Fleetly is like, I don't want to deal with this. And yeah, we'll come do it for you. You leave your car on the tarmac for your private jet. It'll take care of everything.
100%.
Because
that's what people want. And they're willing to pay a premium for it. I would absolutely pay a premium for that. If I didn't have to go do service on my car, I'd come to my driveway. Yeah, knock it out. Save me 2 hours of my life.
Because that's what I love. Like, I always use this quote, like, compared to a lot of things of like buying, tech software or kind of whatever it could be, any sort of sales process can apply it to. But I always say, if I get to the end of a sales process and I use a car, for example, and that salesman is like really happy and friendly, like, I got taken advantage of. Like, I want us to equally hate each other by the end of it. And then it worked out. But again, if we can skip that whole thing, it's like, yeah, come here, test drive this. You like this? Here's the payment.
Let's get away from that. What the idea is, we want our salespeople. We don't even call them salespeople. We call them product specialists. And we want our product specialists to be a true advocate for the customer. So, I mean, another great example, part of our one price thing, we don't pay our product specialists on commission.
Yeah.
So they don't make money based on how much money we made on the car. They make money whether they sell the car or not.
Yeah.
And they make money, the same amount of money if they sell you a $50,000 car as they sell you a $20,000 car. So the idea of that is that I want them to pick the car that the customer actually wants, not what makes them the most money. Most car dealers you go to, I guarantee you there are 4 or 5 cars on every lot in this city that have $1,000 spiff on them. The sales guy sells that yellow Camaro over there, they get $1,000. So a customer comes in looking for a minivan and they go, "Ooh, you thought about that yellow Camaro over there?" It's like,
We know you're looking for a car.
it's awesome.
Two-seater.
And that's not genuine. It's not
Yeah.
doing true needs assessments of our customers and getting the perfect car for what they need, not what we need to sell them.
Exactly. And like relationships in general, whether it be with yourself, your family, loved one, business, I mean, they all kind of have that same pillars, but I've never seen a relationship go well that starts off with lying.
Totally.
Like even when I was single, like there's a multiple dates I went on where someone shows up, I'm like, oh, those are some old pictures. Like, how do you expect me to be like, you know what, this is okay. Like I'm okay with you lied about me. Like and it can go so many different ways, whether you start a job and it's different than what they promised you in the interview process, or if someone's hiding something from like credit cards in America, like there's like nothing starts.
And in the car dealership world, it's encouraged.
Yeah.
Right. You're encouraging the customer to come and say, "Oh, I got an offer for $1,500 less down the street. Are you going to match it?" Like they don't. A lot of times they don't. Never gone down the street. They don't. They're just saying to see what happens, right? And we encourage that to happen. That's been the issue of the car business, and it's why it's opened the door, especially on the used car side, for the Carvanas and the CarMaxes and these other groups to come in and take that piece of the market.
Totally.
Because I'll give them credit. They've done a good job making a great experience.
Exactly. And
but we're going to beat them. We're going to do a better job of it. We just got to figure out, we just got to do a little bit better.
And it's a long-term play too. It's not like everything's going to work out the first month. I mean, sure, when it first changed, there were salespeople, like or product specialists saying, oh, they're not buying, I'm not doing this. They want to negotiate. They're getting better prices. Like, hold the course. Totally. It's going to work out. And then after a while, people are like, oh, I like this better. I do want to come back. I do want to do more.
What it ends up working is we end up dealing with less people and selling the same amount of cars. That's generally what ends up happening in the one price world. And in a normal car dealership, it's about 25% of the customers that walk in the door walk out with a car.
Yeah.
In our world, it's 40 to 45.
That's insane.
Well, but it makes sense if you think about it.
It's like I'm a big ops guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm all about efficiency.
It's about opposite. But the logic behind it is that you've taken their options from 3 to 2. In a regular car dealership, I show you a payment. What can you say? Yes, no, or if you do this. Those are the 3 options. In our world, you can say yes or no.
Yeah.
Right? And so it just makes the process so much easier that it just goes fast.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
And so like one thing because like people always reach out to me to be on the podcast, and it's like from a lot of industries that there's a lot of them. I mean, like whether it's be attorneys, whether it be, accountants, fitness people, whatever it might be. And my response back to them is always, why you? Because, if it's just a general, let's use attorney for the sake of the argument, they're like, just I want some publicity, I want to do this. Like, okay, like, no, thank you.
Yep.
But if you're like the number one
what's
attorney
the unique
who knows
thing?
What's going on in Salt Lake, like, yeah, I'd love to have that conversation. But then also, and which is like part of the whole podcast, is there's so many people doing great things to make this a better place. And one thing I love about Mark Miller Subaru compared to a lot of the other dealerships is how much that you decide to give back to the community. And so, we talked, about Suba Blue with the beer with Proper, and now we, have coffee beans, but talk to me about how that has evolved, under your stewardship and, some of those key, so along the way.
Yeah. So I think the community part of our organization, that goes back well beyond me, back to my grandpa and to my dad. My dad being part of the community and supporting nonprofits. He's a big part of United Way since United Way has been around in Utah. Yeah. My mom was on the board of United Way for 20 years. But like the idea is supporting nonprofits, supporting the community was taught to me at a very young age about that's part of your responsibility. If you're going to have a business in the community, your job is to support that community, and you have to figure out how to do that. And so the nice thing is Subaru is the perfect brand for that. And so that's been really helpful for us and made it a lot easier. We were doing a lot of the stuff and the share the love and the giveaways so the share the love event, which we're doing now, we'll talk about in a bit. We actually did an event before that, before they launched Share the Love about a year or two, we did an event very similar to Share the Love. And it was the Do Good, Feel Good event is what we called it. And it was an event every April where the first year we did it was a disaster. But the first year we did it the idea was, I want to say it was either $75 or $100. I think it was $75 for every car we sold. It was, we only had our Midtown. This would have been like 2006 or 2007. So we only had our Midtown store. And we donated $75 for every new car we sold in the month of April. I think it was new and used. We sold in the month of April. And our rule with the first year we did it was you could pick any 501c3.
Oh, geez.
Horrible idea. Yeah. We got some crazy nonprofits. And nonprofits we didn't necessarily want to put our name on.
Yeah, you're like, we're going to create a shell company.
Yeah,
we're going to
totally.
donate.
We learned that first year that's not a bad idea. I think the 80 or 90 cars we sold that month, I think we had like 35 different nonprofits or 40 different nonprofits. It was crazy. So then we've decided in future years we're going to limit it to 4 or 5 nonprofits. And we kept doing that event. And that's when Subaru, a couple of years later, I didn't think they copied from us, but they started. And where Share the Love started, which is what we're doing, what just kicked off last week, is Share the Love started in 2008 when the world was in the middle of the financial crisis. So I think Lehman Brothers went down in October of 2008, I think. Yes, so October 2008. So at that point, the world is falling. Everything dying, like layoffs, everyone's quitting. The car business was giving away cars. It was 0% financing, $3,000 off every car, incentives through the roof. It was all these deals. And little Subaru comes along. This is Subaru at that time was selling about 180,000 cars a year in the United States. Little Subaru comes along and says, we're going to do a charity event. And we're going to donate $250 to nonprofits for every car we sell. At that point, I think they picked 4 national nonprofits that they could pick from. It's like, that's what we're going to do. Had the best month in their history.
Wow.
History of the company. In December of 2008, Subaru had the best month in their history. Think about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. And ever since that moment, that was really the turning point moment when Subaru did that and really started leaning on the idea of love and that idea in its marketing, and went from 180,000 to they'll sell 680,000 cars in the U.S. this year.
Okay.
And that's in the last, 16 years?
Yeah.
17 years. And in the Share the Love event has grown from the small beginnings it had there to, I want to say they'll break $300 million donated through this program.
Wow.
This year. So pretty cool. And they've been able to expand. The cool thing is they've just not resting on the laurels. They still have their national nonprofits, but what they did about 3 or 4 years ago is they decided we're going to let local nonprofits. So we're going to let each individual retailer pick 1 or 2. I think it depends on your size of your store. We're big enough that we get to pick 2. So we get to pick 2 local nonprofits that we get to support, and we get to go deep with them. And the idea is that we can guide our customers to pick the local ones instead of the national ones and try and support local, which is so much more important to us. And we try and switch it up every year and bring different nonprofits in and create projects with them and have them on our showroom floors to teach our customers about what they do, and have them in our TV advertisements to try and get them, not only get them money by us donating to them, we're trying to get them more PR, right? Yeah. Get them more notoriety or more ability to be known in the community. So Girls on the Run and Usara, those are our 2 nonprofits this year. We're super excited about both of them. They're both partners we've worked with for a little bit, and we're really excited to see how much money we can raise for them the next probably 30 more days.
Yeah. I mean, because it's going on right now. Started November 20th, goes till January 2nd of the new year. And I mean, that's one thing I love is, like, you think about, again, you can go buy a car, Subaru will donate $250, huge organizations nationwide, but the amount that's going to come specifically to our community is limited. However, when it's like, hey, listen, we are going to add more on top of this if you choose one of our local ones, and that impact gets magnified.
That's the big part. So we match it. So if the donation goes to the local nonprofits, we do another $250 from us personally, from the dealership. And plus another $5 for every oil change that gets done in our dealership during that time.
I love that part too, because it's like, I mean, I'm always, because like going back to the 2008 example, very different consumer behavior. Whereas now, 2025, people are so much more cause driven in their purchasing behavior. I mean, you see that everywhere from boycotts of Target and go shopping local to, again, something as simple as you buy a car, we'll donate. And so it's like, I'm sure there's people who are like, oh yeah, I would love to be able to go buy a car and donate to a cause, but I bought it. Like I'm in the middle of my lease that I got from last year, but I do need an oil change. So there's something that I can
push your oil change up by 30 days or something like that, and come in and give the donation that way for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, our goal for this year is we're trying to get to 200,000. We want to donate 200,000 to these 2 nonprofits.
Love that. Because I love Girls on the Run. I am pretty active in the running community. And like I am, my mom, we're the family that runs on 5Ks on holidays.
Okay.
And my sister's a big runner, and she has my niece. And like I heard about Girls on the Run, and I was like, I kind of want her to do it. She's like, she's a little young, one time soon.
Nice.
But I mean, anything that can get people together, people outside, people moving.
Yeah, my daughter was involved in Girls on the Run through her school when she was in middle school.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we've been involved on every level of that program, and it's just fun to see when we get to the end of these events what they can actually use that money for, and just to see the impact that money truly has in the community. It's like our partner last year was Salt Lake County Animal Services, and they built a whole new part of their facility with the money that they got from us last year. So
because it's one thing to just be like, oh, like cool, you guys donated, it goes to this, it goes to our parent company who then distributes it this way, but then to be like, here's big check. I better be a big check, because if I ever raise a lot of money, I'm going to get a big check to give to someone.
Oh yeah, we always do the big check.
Good.
The big check's so much fun.
Big check has to happen.
And we actually got in trouble with Subaru last year because too much of our money went to the local nonprofits, which I told my guys, keep it out.
I will take the part of
that's
this.
a great job.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, as long as we're letting the customer pick and they're making an educated pitch to the locals and we're not picking for them, I'm perfectly fine with it. We want to get as much money to our local ones as possible, without question.
I know, exactly. And then even if you need to come, I mean, I know next week, good old Ethan Cisneros and Thirst Drinks are coming by to come. I mean, come grab a drink and support it that way too.
Yeah, we're excited about the partnership with Thirst this year. So the years past, we didn't do the Super Blue beer this year. We didn't do the partnership with Part this year. But the idea is to try different partnerships, right? That's another cool part. Not only in the nonprofit world with our partnerships we do with nonprofits, the idea of trying to partner with different companies. And with Proper Brewery, we've done a ton of stuff with Proper Brewery over the last few years. And with Thirst and just these local companies, Slug Magazine, like all these.
You must have a great marketing team that knows exactly
what to tell. Fabulous marketing team. Yeah.
Because that's one thing I like on the topic of beer versus soda. Like I was in Austin. I had a friend that used to live in Austin. Now he's moved to Nashville, but I would go there every Masters weekend, and I'd go hang out with him for the week. We'd watch the Masters. It'd be a great time. And on the last day of the Masters, on the Sunday, he's like, hey, we're going to go to this social club. They have a simulator. Okay. A couple of my friends were just going to go hang out, drink beers, and watch the Masters and swing some clubs. I'm like, don't tempt me with a good time.
Sounds perfect.
And so we go down there, and this guy's like, oh, cool. Like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, Salt Lake. He's like, oh, I was just down there for one of my distributors to meet up with them. We went to a jazz game. And he's like, it was the wildest experience. Because we go in there, it's halftime. He's like, I could use a beer. Goes up, walks up beer, orders it really quickly. And then he turns around and he's like, and then I see this turnstile just going back and forth and back and forth. And I look over what it was, and it was soda. I was like, welcome to Utah.
Yeah. Soda's big. My kids are addicted to all this swig. And I think I've had swig, and I've had swig maybe 10 times in my life, probably. Thirst. I'm not a soda guy.
It's a treat to me. It's not like, because I'm not I've
never been a big soda guy.
Like if I'm having a soda, full strength, like I'm not going to go get a diet something. But it's, again, very much a treat. Like my girlfriend's mom was in town last week, and she's like, well, can we go get one of those sodas? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's go stop by 33rd South, go by Thirst, and go grab a soda.
I had a Thirst today. My Thirst today was delicious.
There you go.
It was really good there. We started, the first drink we did was actually with Mountain West cider. And we had a cider that we put together.
I do love Mountain West.
And it was Super Blue cider. That was the first one we ever did. So I went
cider.
from cider, then I went to beer. Now it's the soda. We'll see what ends up next year.
Next thing you know, you can have Culligan water and have Suba Blue water.
Whiskey.
Hey, I know a guy.
Go to the whiskey.
Been on ship.
Yeah, there's some whiskey guys. We can figure out the whiskey setup next.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple more of them now.
That's one of the harder ones we do, is trying to pick the two for sure love every year.
Yeah. Walk me through that decision-making process. Because again, as you've learned when it was open, there's a million.
We started, so Subaru started their Subaru Love stuff about...
Yeah. Because what's their national partner?
10 years ago, probably. So the idea is they started this idea as like Subaru loves pets, Subaru loves to care, Subaru loves to help. There's these different pillars, they call them. God. Subaru loves the earth. And so they're pillars that they set across. And the idea is that they do events under each pillar certain months of the year. And then we decided to add a couple of our own pillars a few years ago. So we added Mark Miller Subaru loves veterans and Mark Miller Subaru loves diversity. And so the way we do it is now we have our 7 pillars that we focus on. And what happens is every year we take grant applications from nonprofits towards those 7 pillars to try and pick one partner in each pillar. And the idea of it is rather than support 30 or 40 different nonprofits all year, we pick these 7, and those 7 we go deep with. We're at every one of their events. They're at every one of our events. They set up tents on our showroom floor. They set up tents at our events. We introduce them to each other. We've had a lot of partnerships that we've created, nonprofits working together through it. And then the idea is that sometimes we're going to keep them for the next year. Sometimes we won't. We have probably 2 or 3 partners that are kind of long-term partners that are kind of stay on the board for a long time.
Cool.
Discovery Gateway is a big one.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Kathleen Buddenless.
Yep. Kathleen's amazing. Now I'm on the board, Discovery Gateway.
Yes, you are.
So, and we have our exhibit. We have our Mark Miller Subaru exhibit downtown there. They built all of our kids' rooms. So we have 4 Discovery Gateway kids' rooms, 2 at each store.
Oh, no way.
That are actual museum quality exhibits that are our kids' playrooms. Rather than just throw a bunch of toys in a room and call it a playroom, we actually have a museum. Yeah, we actually have a museum. So we have museum quality pieces, and then Volunteers of America has been another one of our partners we've had for a long, long time, and we help supply them with vehicles. They purchase cars from us. They probably have 60 Mark Miller Subarus that they use to provide services around the valley and bringing homeless youth to jobs and try and get people to where they need to be to help get people back in the world. So
amazing.
It's just fun. It's fun being able to see all these organizations that we help and not just be able to, okay, we're just going to throw you a check for $1,000. We're actually going to get there, and we're going to include you in our social media, include you in our advertising, include you in our process, what we do, volunteers from our store, go volunteer at their locations and be a part of them versus just give them money.
Because that's like one of my biggest pet peeves as I kind of look at a lot of, I mean, it's not necessarily even just like nonprofits, but like anything that needs money to succeed that can't succeed in let's call it a capitalistic environment. And so many times here's a check. And it's like, sometimes you need, money doesn't solve everything. Sometimes you need the brains, the network, and there's so much more to it. And one thing that I've been reflecting a lot recently is giving back as a topic, because I mean, up until years ago, I was like, well, giving back means once I have millions of dollars, I go give those millions of dollars to someone and they put a building on a college campus and then I get immortalized. But then what I've realized is oh, no. There's so many different ways to do it. So just in my own life, I try to give back where I can. If someone reaches out hey, I need help with this, or I need someone to talk to through this, or I need some sort of advice. I'm like, yeah, let's go grab coffee. Let's go grab
thousands and thousands of ways you can give back.
Exactly. And so I love that have this, business and platform that you have where it's easy to be the guy in Southern California that twirls his Monopoly mustache and takes the briefcase instead of being well, how do we support the community? How do we give back?
Totally.
And not only because you could easily just say, oh yeah, Subaru gives back at a nationwide level. That scratches that itch. We don't need to do anything else. Would be no. I want to maximize the impact here.
Totally.
And so, thank you for everything you do for all of us in our community when it's easier to not know.
And that's really, one of my goals, especially now that I've kind of moved on from, I know day-to-day management. I'm not doing day-to-day management of the store. I've got Chris Hudson there to kind of do that kind of stuff and manage the store so I can focus on more big picture looks. And really one of my big goals from a national standpoint is to try and show other car dealers that this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And this is the future of the car business. And if we want to be successful and we want car dealerships to hang around for the next 100 years, we've got to get a lot better at meeting customer needs and meeting the needs of the communities around us.
Adapt or die.
Car dealerships, in general, car dealerships that generally do a pretty good job of being around the community. You got to give dealerships credit on that side of it. There's always the first guys to ever sponsor a little league team, the first guys to sponsor sports teams are generally the car dealers in town.
Yeah, I guess that you put it that way. Whenever
if you ever go to any any high school you ever go to, you will never not see the local car dealership on the fence.
Local 5K, back of the shirt, dealership.
Yep.
Anything?
It's always there. And we've always been really good at that.
If you need money, reach out to the dealerships.
We've just taken it a lot deeper. And we try and focus our stuff so we can really make impact with it versus just going to everybody.
Yeah. No, I love that. Focus on what matters. You could be as broad as possible, but then that leads to 30 to 40 501(c)s that want money.
100%.
And then next thing you know, to actually make an impact that matters, where you can, again, build a wing that changes everything.
Absolutely.
Question, actually, as it comes to mind, as I think you're one of the few people that would know this, what % of Salt Lake drives a Subaru or owns a Subaru? Or % of sales, whatever metric you could use?
So Subaru's an interesting brand when you look at market share, because we can't, you could look at the full market share in Utah is probably 7 or 8%.
Okay.
Is Subaru. But we don't look at it that way because we don't compete in a ton of segments.
Right.
We don't have a minivan. We don't have a truck. We should have a truck, but I'm working on that.
Thank you.
We should have a truck. We just don't have a truck.
You mean the Baja?
Right. We need a Nissan Frontier size truck, a mid-size Tacoma, Subaru, a Subaru Tacoma would be an awesome car, but we're working on that. But because we don't compete in the stuff we compete in, especially in the Salt Lake market that we represent, so our Midtown market, we're actually the number 2 brand right now.
Wow.
It's Toyota than Subaru.
Interesting.
In the stuff we compete in. I mean, there's certain segments that we sell. I mean, I think the segment that Crosstrek competes in, I think we sell 65% of the cars. That's wild. Crosstreks in the small SUV category, I usually sell pretty much all of them. Right? It's just we just don't have enough models to. I mean, if we had enough models, I think we could be bigger than Toyota in this.
Right. I mean, Subaru knows it.
It's just it's the official car of Utah.
Yeah.
You go to Park City, it's all Subarus.
Yeah. It was wild when I moved because I went on my mission in Washington and then moved to Seattle after graduating. And even driving around there, I was like, where's the Subarus?
Yeah.
Like they're usually.
And as you get farther from Salt Lake, the less Subarus you see.
Yeah.
So Salt Lake Park City is the bread and butter for Subaru. And then as it spreads out, it gets a little bit thinner.
And as far as like, let's call it like Utah or even like northern Utah specifically, like how does that, or I mean, you can call it sales here. I mean, however you want to define it compared to the rest of the country. Are we like the top dogs?
We're probably one of the top 5 markets, top 6 markets. Seattle's huge. Portland's huge.
No, yes, per capita. Probably
huge. New England area,
yeah.
Monstrously big. Like Vermont, they still have a ton of Subarus in those areas. But they've actually started really hitting they call it the Sun Belt. So it's pretty much the entire
Tennessee,
bottom border of the country.
Alabama,
yeah, so you're talking like Arizona, Southern California, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, like the bottom of the country. They really started hitting that the past 10 years and actually do pretty well. And that's where a lot of the expansion Subaru's had, going from the 180 to the 680, has been in those markets.
Interesting.
And we've done well too, but we were already doing well.
Yeah.
Even before that, a lot of people run Subarus back then. It used to be a little niche brand. Now, the national goal for Subaru is a 5% market share.
Interesting.
They want a 5% market share, but they've never had.
Which is pretty ambitious considering, like, again, there's so many different model types that they just aren't ever going to compete.
When you talk about when they were at 180,000 cars, they were at a 1% market share. So 1% market is 170,000 cars. They'll sell 16 million cars in the U.S. this year.
That's a lot of cars.
And that's down. But here's the crazy part: they sell 16 million, that we scrap 18 million. So that's a really interesting thing when you talk about car world, right?
Yeah.
Is that when you go to down markets, the scrap rate never goes down. So the scrap rate is how many cars leave the market every year, whether they get shipped to Mexico, shipped out of the country, totaled, crashed, die, shredded, whatever. For the last 2-3 years, you've had more cars leaving the market than you have coming into the cars. So what happens in the car business is if you have a couple bad years because of the economy, what happens, especially in our Subaru world, is uncertainty kills us. So tariffs and all this stuff just kill a Subaru market, because when people are uncertain about the economy, uncertain about things, they hold off on buying cars, which is completely natural. We completely understand that. But what happens is eventually they have to buy a car. Like eventually those cars get taken out of the market. There aren't enough used cars in the market. People have to buy new ones. So if you get a couple of years where you're only selling 15, 16 million cars, those next 2 years after that are going to blow up, which is what happened in 2021 and 2022. And then you see the cycle. It just becomes this crazy up-down cycle.
See, the data nerd in me just like wants to scratch and double click all of that.
Oh, we love the data. So we work a lot in AI and ChatGPT. There's car dealership specific ChatGPTs that analyze inventory data and all that. Like I geek out on that stuff too.
Amazing. I could probably have a whole podcast with you based on that. Jeff, this has been great. I always say this, but every conversation I have, like I go in thinking like, it's probably going to go like this, or I'm probably going to be this, but this has been fantastic. Like so many great, insights that I never knew about. Also just like great human.
No, thank you.
But want to end with the 2 questions I always ask everybody at the end of each episode. Number 1, if you could have someone on the Small Lake City podcast and hear more about them and their story, who would you want to hear from?
Wow. If I had someone, I'm a sports guy. So have you got many of the sports guy, local sports people in?
Here and there, like a lot of like action sports and like skiers. Yes. Jazz folk are harder to tap into.
Do you have a really interesting one for you? He was my old neighbor.
Yeah.
Will Hardy.
Yeah.
He's a really cool guy. He's got a really cool story. Came out of the D3 basketball world, worked his way under Greg Popovich, coming up through that coaching tree and learning his history stuff. That would be a really cool story.
No, I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah. Will Hardy would be a good one.
I could do that. I mean, actually, he's here. There was one time, because it's like always weird sometimes, like sitting at Edison House, because sometimes I'll be sitting there like having a beer, food, whatever, watching sports, and I'll turn over and be like, was that? It was. but I'm not the person who's like, oh my gosh, who's this person? But he walked in once and I was like, oh, Will Hardy.
Yeah, really a good guy. That would be the one I would say you should get on.
Okay. Deal, Will Hardy. And then secondly, if people want to find more information about Mark Miller Subaru, get more information about the Share the Love event, what's the best place to find more information?
So our website is always the best place, just www.markmillersubaru.com, or you can any of our social media channels as well, too.
Deal.
For sure.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much. If anybody needs a car, go make an impact.
Right now's the right time.
Till the best.
Till January 2nd, and donate $500 to every car sold. So
yeah.
We're going to try and sell a lot of them. I want to spend a lot of that money.
Yes. Help Jeff spend his money.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
No, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Salt Lake City Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, review, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. And we'll catch you next week. We'll see you there.